Welcome back to Celebrity Radio. It's Alex Belfield talking to some of the country's biggest stars and some of my favourite people. And we've got one for you today, a legend that I've admired my entire life and career. He shot to fame on radio, via TV and film, and he'll be appearing at the Belgrade Theatre for the Magic of the Music Hall with Jan Hunt and Andy Eastwood and Van Burnen and many others. And I'm delighted to say that Roy Hudd joins us on the phone now. How are you?
I'm all right, Alex. How are you doing?
I'm great. It must be great to be you. I mean, I look down your CV. There's nobody you haven't worked with, really, is there?
No, but usually only once. I've had enough of me by then.
Yeah, I'm not very good at the rebookings.
No, I know what you mean. No, I've had a marvellous career so far, and continuing, thank God, you know.
I saw you last week, and there you were looking delicious. How have you managed to do it?
Years of self-denial and a fish diet, Alex. That's what... No, I'll tell you what, it was... we met at Ken's funeral.
That's right.
Well, almost, didn't we?
Yeah, we were with Andy, yeah.
But we were there at his knighthood, the celebration for his knighthood. I mean, what a fantastic... My missus said, I was heartbroken because I spoke to him the night before he died. It was just so, awful. And my missus sort of trying to calm me down a bit, and she said, yeah, but what a life he had. You know, all those years in the business, spreading such joy and happiness, and he was a lovely bloke. And then at the very topper, he gets a bloody knighthood.
Yeah.
Marvellous, it really was. But then that happened, and they took him away.
In one way, it was perfect synergy. I mean, he turned 90, became Sir Ken Dodd, and his last gig was in Liverpool. It was almost poetic, wasn't it?
Wasn't it just? Absolutely right. I mean, Liverpool's own he was. I mean, and I'd known him many, many years from when we first were kids almost, you know. And then, of course, I got involved with Ken with the trial and everything, and that was marvellous. That worked out great for Ken, which was terrific. And we've been pals ever since. And then we put on a do for him just before Christmas. The British Musical Society did a celebration of him, and we had that in some posh place in London, and it was really good because everybody... I mean, we could have sold the place out 50 times over, I should think. But he gave all the money to the Musical Society that we made that day. I said, Ken, it will do any one of your charities. He said, no, they're getting plenty. He said, it must go to the Musical Society because, he said, I am a musical comedian.
Yeah. Yeah, he never forgot that, did he? Never forgot that.
No, he never did. And, I mean, he loved it all. And when we had that do together, we had a lunch there, and it was smashing. But the night before, we just sat down at the table, him and Anne and myself, my missus, and we just sat round the table there having something to eat and never stopped talking about the old turns and quoting all the gags. And I said to Anne, it must drive you bloody mad like it does my missus. That's all we talk about when we get together. The old turns and what they did and the gags and the bits and everything. But it was such a joy to be able to spend time with him. It really was.
Yeah, and again, he was so loyal. I met him first when I was 12 years old, and he never forgot, did he? Once you were in, you were in. But he was private. It was difficult to get in, wasn't he? He wasn't an easy man to get to know.
No, he certainly wasn't, and that's why it was so wonderful to spend the whole evening there just chatting and sorting out what was what. He was a very private bloke.
Will there ever be another?
Yes, there will. You know, there have been people before Ken who've been sort of rather like him in certain ways, but today's standards, there'll never be anyone quite like that because he was the first man ever, to my knowledge, to actually make it as top of the bill without television.
Yeah, incredible.
When you think about it, I mean, everybody today gets promoted on the telly, and if you're not on the telly, you don't do so well at the box office and all this sort of stuff. But Ken became a star purely by live performance. Purely by live performance, and you don't realise actually how extremely difficult that is to do.
And what I loved in the end was he was his own boss and made his own rules and feared no one. I mean, he was formidable as a human being.
Oh, yeah, absolutely, and quite right. And he was very, he was very, very true to his faith and all that sort of stuff, Ken. I never heard him tell a filthy gag.
No.
Ever. I don't think I ever actually heard him on stage swear.
No. He did tell the odd saucy gag backstage, though.
Yes, indeed, but that's not quite the same.
No, it isn't.
Funny enough, it's one of the things that we always used to talk about, Kendall, and he said it's strange because I suddenly get overexcited if I'm talking to someone who's into the same game as me.
Yes,
and
he loved it.
He used to love that, you know.
Yeah.
But, I mean, he was a different man privately. He was a different man.
Yeah, and again, that final conversation must have been very moving for you.
It was, I can't tell you. And he said, to me, that was the last thing he said to me, Ken. He said, I don't think I shall ever work again, you know. And that was so sad because, as you know, as everybody now knows, it was his absolute life.
Yeah.
When we first met in those early days, I remember him saying to me, you know, I only come alive when I go on there. He said, and I love it. He said, and that's why I won't come off, because I like it so much on there. Yeah. I said to him, well, I like it on there, but I like going home and all.
Yeah. But, I mean, that thing about staying on stage till midnight and staying at stage door till 3 signing autographs, that's what he loved.
You see, he was
loved
totally dedicated.
Yeah.
He was totally dedicated. And he's the man I know who would ring you, but always trying to improve.
Yeah. He was a scientist of comedy, wasn't he? Absolutely.
Well, in a way it was. I mean, you can't be scientific about comedy, really, because it's down to as Ken used to say, and all the great ones have said, it's a collusion between you and the audience. And if you lose that thread, you add it, you know, but if you've got that thread, that's something that money can't buy. Extremely knowledgeable about the whole history of our business and things like that, you know.
Yeah. Well, I miss him very much. I don't know about you. There'll never be quite another like him. Completely unique.
Well, he was unique. Like there'll never be another Max Miller. There would never be another Dan Leno.
Yeah.
You know, not from that point of view. And that's why they were such big stars, because they were totally individual.
Yeah.
You know, you can't do a clone of somebody like that. But all you can say is there will be people with that same rapport with an audience and things like that. There will be. You know, there always have been people like that. And please God, and he'd be the first one to say, oh yes, please God, let there be people like that.
And then we look at you and your career. I told you this before. We did an hour special when you brought out that fabulous autobiography. And one of my greatest memories was my first laugh with my dad. And I remember being in the car and you were on Radio 2 and you did a joke about a drunk captain on British Airways. And the punchline, I won't do it as well as you, was something like Whiskey, Whiskey, Tango. That wasn't his call letters. That was his drinks order. And I laughed. And you gave me my first laugh, Roy.
Certain gags do stay with you, don't they?
It was beautifully crafted, and it was the first time I remember laughing with my dad. These are the memories that we cherish, aren't they? Thank you.
Yeah, they are indeed. It's funny that, because as a kid I was always taken to the variety theatres by my gran who brought me up, you know. And I always remember one of the first laughs, I was the only person in the theatre who laughed, and I remember telling Ken this, and he said, there you are, you see, you were going to come into the game. I said, I was the only person who laughed. He said, yeah, but what makes pros people who are going to be pros laugh is different. And I always remember this, because we always had to go and see Max Miller. What a grown-up lady my grandma was, wasn't she? For taking a bloody 10-year-old boy to see Max Miller. But you always remember the line, and he said, it wasn't even a gag, it was just a comment. And he said, do you know, I've got a grandson now, lady, I've got a grandson now. 4 years of age, 4 years, to hear him speak, you'd swear he was 5. You really would. It just made, I was the only one in the theatre who laughed, and I was about 10. But you'd never forget the first gag, you're right, Alex.
Beautiful, just beautiful. How are theatres doing? I mean, I spend my life reviewing stuff, and it seems to me that if you've got a musical like Wicked, you'll sell out. But that doesn't necessarily mean if you've got a variety show, it will sell out. Audiences have changed a bit, haven't they?
Well, they have changed a bit, and I mean, it's almost, unless you've been in the business 100 years like I have, really, but unless you've been in the business a long time and people know you from years, watching you for years, you still can get a good audience in. But the majority of it, you've got to have done television now.
Yeah.
And that's the sad thing, because great television comics are not necessarily any good on stage.
Right. It's a different discipline.
It's an entirely different technique.
Yeah.
As Ken always used to quote that to him, it's a collusion between... Dan Leno, the great Victorian musical star, used to say exactly the same things. I remember reading a criticism of his pantomime, and when they said, oh dear, when he's dead and gone, pantomime will die. Well, of course it didn't. It's still with us, thank goodness. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad. It was always that.
Did you see the panto at the Palladium the last couple of years?
No, I didn't go to the Palladium pantomimes. I went through them as a kid, and I was always disappointed because they were very spectacular, always, with loads of names in it. But it wasn't what I used to enjoy about pantomime, and what I still do enjoy about pantomime, and doing pantomime I do. It was great, marvellous, strong storyline, funny bits, old-fashioned humour, that sort of stuff. And it wasn't any of those things. It was just a lot of names, and they used to put names on at the Palladium always and give them nothing to do.
Right.
They used to do... It was such a waste of talent, always to me. And kids, I never used to enjoy the spectacle very much at all as a kid. I liked the kicking up the backside and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And the slapstick and things like that. So I didn't go to either of the pantos at the Palladium simply because it wasn't my sort of panto.
Right. And
I happened to do 2 years running at Wilton's Music Hall in London, which was great. It was about fourpence, we didn't get a lot of money, but it was the sort of pantomime they said to me, you write the pantomime, so et cetera. Yes, lovely. So, but you'll be in it, will you? I said, well, I don't know, So they said, oh, yeah, please. So I said, well, I'll tell you what, I will do the pantomime and I'll perform in it, but I want to play. I'd never played Dame in panto, ever. So I said, if you let me play Dame, I'll be in it.
Nice.
So I was, and we had 2 fantastic years there.
Beautiful.
It was amazing. It was an old-fashioned panto, good storyline, lots of slapstick, lots of good songs, not just pop songs, but songs that kids pick up on straight away, things like that. And it really didn't half work marvellous. We had 5-star reviews and all that, nationals and goodness knows what. And I'm not one for beating the drum about what I do, but that really was a fantastic reward. And I know it was because we did an old-fashioned pantomime.
Interesting, isn't it? I wonder, we've talked about the audiences. What about the performers? Are variety and musical entertainers still coming through?
Some of them coming through. Obviously, it can never be by the numbers that were when variety was at its peak. Certainly not, because every town and city, they all had music halls, and there were lots of dates to play, and so a lot of people needed. So there were lots more people involved in that. But certainly there are kids coming through. There really are, and there always will be, and there'll be strange ones. Like I'm sure Ken was a strange kid. You've got to have somebody who's got original thoughts and stuff like that. It is changing. Comedy is changing, and always is changing. I mean, it's a thing that for years they said we don't want all television commercials in pantos and things like that. It's one of the surefire laughs if you pick the right one on, because all the kids watch the telly.
Yeah.
So if you don't, you mustn't. I'm getting confused now, but you mustn't steal it in aspect. It's not a museum piece.
Right.
It must be reflecting of life today, but in a broad way that will make kids laugh. That's what you have to do.
And what about you on stage today? I mean, we're going to see you on the 23rd of April at Coventry at the Magic of the Musical.
Yeah. Well, I'm looking forward to that, and it's quite a good idea because they're only doing a matinee there, you know, that's all.
Yeah.
1:30 in the afternoon. And it's full of people who are good at music hall. It's as simple as that, good at variety. And it'll be a smashing bill. I mean, I know everybody on the bill. I probably know everybody in show business. She was saying early on. But Jan Hunter is marvellous. She used to be in Crackerjack, would you believe, all those years ago.
Yeah.
And she's a terrific musical performer. Andy, as you know, Andy Eastwood, terrific actor, great ukulele player. And boy, can he fair makes it talk, Governor.
Yeah, he's brilliant.
He really does. We've got the son of a very famous magician, that's Andy Van Buren, and he's the son, and he's sort of taken all the stuff that his dad did and sort of changed it, brought it a bit up to date and all that sort of stuff. And we've got an orchestra, would you believe it? So it says here, anyway.
It's going to be fantastic.
I've got a feeling the orchestra will be piano and drums, but there we are, the right sort of people. And I think it'll be an absolutely smashing show. They're all people who are great at the job.
Do you still love being on stage?
Oh, not much so. But it was the funny thing about, as I was saying about talking to Ken, you know, and I said, well, I love it on there. I said, but I do like to go home occasionally. You know, he'll sit and bunny all night if necessary, you know. If it isn't to the customers, it'll be to other pros, you know. You can happily sit in the dressing room and talk forever. I mean, it's a marvelous, wonderful how he could sing so beautifully.
Yeah. Yeah, and we forget that, don't we? I mean, Tears for Souvenirs was a bigger selling hit than John Lennon's Imagine. Incredible.
I know, and he knocked the Beatles off. Wasn't that great?
Yeah. Second biggest artist of the 1960s.
To see, you know, when you went to Liverpool to say goodbye to Ken, the marvellous photo that somebody sent me of the statues of the Beatles with tickling sticks under their arms.
Lovely.
Someone had put them in.
Yeah,
that
great.
was just wonderful, I thought. And they loved Ken.
They did. Yeah. There's that beautiful video, I don't know if you've seen it on YouTube, where they met, I don't know, 1966 maybe. And, of course, they were at the top of their fame, but they were still in reverence to Ken. It was extraordinary.
Well, of course they were, because everybody was, because he was so good at the job.
Yeah, incredible.
He really was. And never mind about the job, we all think of it like he was good at the job, but he really did spread such joy. And it's very rarely that an audience go mental when they hear the sound of a person before he comes on.
Yeah. And again,
with Ken, the first few bars of Love Is Like a Violin used to be his play on, you know.
Yeah.
And you could feel the atmosphere really go up, and people started clapping when they played Love Is Like a Violin. He hadn't even done anything.
That was my favourite bit of the funeral as he left. Da 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 into Happiness was just beautiful on the organ, wasn't it?
That's one of the great songs.
Yeah, beautiful.
It really is, and absolutely. When you think of how complete his whole person was and everything, I mean, he invented stuff for the kids, marvellous ditty men, and wasn't that terrific at the funeral when they took Ken out and following him down the aisle there with a ditty man.
Beautiful.
Absolutely unbelievable. That one made me weep a bit, I tell you.
I agree.
I'm doing a little one-man show that myself and my missus do. I'm doing a couple of those because I'm just about to start rehearsals for a play, and I don't know if you ever saw it, Alex, but it was a smashing play, and it just came out of the blue, the offer for it, and I was so thrilled. It was a play called Good Night, Mr. Tom. Did you ever see it?
No, I didn't.
Well, it was John Thorpe.
Oh, right.
Played it, and it's set during the war, and he's a crusty old countryman who lives all by himself and everything, and they're putting the kids to be evacuated all over the country, and he gets lumbered with one of these evacuees, and it really is the most marvellous play. And funny enough, the chap who put it on originally, I wrote to him and I said, if you're thinking of taking this show out on tour, please do think of me to play the John Thaw part, because I loved it so much. And from an entirely different source, it was offered to me.
Wow.
So the only problem I've got is I've got to learn 2 hours of dialogue.
Yes.
That's what I'm just started work on now.
You never lose it.
Ken always said, I said, well, Ken, funny enough, it came up before the last time I spoke to Ken. And he said, I said, well, there's nothing on, but I've got to learn this stuff. He said, oh, yeah, you've got to learn it. He said, but you must do shows while you're doing it in front of an audience, even while you're learning, he said, spending the time to really cram the words in. You've got to get out there. You've got to keep your hand in with an audience.
Wow.
And it was absolutely right.
Yeah. He never stopped advising, did he? Never.
No, I know. And it was, I'd never have thought of it at the time. I suppose that's what I was thinking of when I was doing all these various things for charity at home and our little chat show that Debbie and my missus and I do and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And it was purely just to keep my hand in.
The saddest thing for me with Ken is the moment he realised he probably wouldn't do another show. That must have broke his heart. That makes me very sad.
Oh, well, indeed it did. I think it would anybody but him more than most, because he was the ultimate professional comedian.
Yeah. And then I say the same to you that I said to him every time I spoke to him, which was that we love you and we respect you and the warmth towards you never fades. That must be lovely, because you've got that as well. The public just love you, Roy. You do know that, don't you?
Well, that's very nice of you to say so, love, because I'm like Ken in that respect, that I love them too.
Yeah, yeah. And what a legacy, whether it be Coronation Street, whether it be your passion for the music halls or just as a stage performer in Panto. I mean, what a career and what a life. Amazing.
Well, that's what my missus always says to me when I get a bit down. She says, yes, look, go in that room and have a look at the... I said, no, I'm not going to do that. Well, I'll tell you. She said, you've had a terrific career and you all make mistakes, which I made mistakes, Ken made mistakes, we all did. But you learn by your mistakes, and if you're still here after 60-odd years, well, you're doing all right, aren't you?
Jimmy Tarbuck, it's been nice talking to you.
Yeah. Jan Hunt, can I say how butch you're sounding this morning?
That was my favourite moment from the funeral on Sky News. Beautiful.
Yeah, wasn't it just? Absolutely. And someone sent me a clip of it, you know.
Oh, it's gone everywhere. It's gone viral. That'll be one of those clips that'll be played on the telly for the next 30 years, I guarantee it. Beautiful.
Unbelievable, wasn't it? You know, it was the only one I've ever had anything similar to that was when I was doing the radio show, you know, on Radio 2, all those years of news Huddlines, 26 years. When we were doing it there, they said, what do you call it, Cliff Richard came to do a radio show, you know, a broadcasting house. And he walked in and he said, oh, this is good. He said, big queue, he said, outside, all coming to see me. The commissioner said, they've come to see the news headlines, not you. Never let me forget it, Cliff, because we were redcoats together at Butlins, would you believe?
Wow.
100 years ago.
Amazing. Ken told me a story once, I don't know whether it's true, but I've no reason to disbelieve it, that he went to see My Fair Lady at the Theatre Royal Drury Lane. And he went to sit in stalls on F row, and he'd got his hat on, and he took his hat off, and as he took his hat off, the whole audience started cheering. And he turned round and started waving at them, but little did he realise that the Queen had just sat down in the royal box.
I can believe it. But you do. I think you get delusions of grandeur now and again.
He said, how did they recognise me from behind? And of course it was nothing to do with him.
Well, I know I told you, but years and years ago, and I said, we were talking as we always used to about everything, and he said, oh, I love it out there and all this sort of stuff. I said, can you working your cobblers off here? I said, all the time. I said, you must take a holiday. Get abroad, I said. Get some sun. And he said, oh, it's too expensive, dear boy, too expensive, you know. I said, no, it isn't. You can get a fortnight in Spain, you know, very cheap. cheaply, and this is a long time ago, of course.
Yeah.
And next summer, somebody said, you know what, he said, I took your advice, young man. Did you? Yes, he said, we went to Mallorca. I thought, hello, you know. And he said, we went for a fortnight. He said, £125. And I thought, Christ, where did they stay? You know. And he said, I said, oh, you enjoyed it, did you get it? He said, yes. Everybody knew me. Now, that is absolutely him. Because everybody else would go on holiday to rest, to get away from it all.
Yeah.
But no, he wanted to be with his, and he wanted people to know him, and he wanted to talk to everybody and everything. It was an absolute eye-opener to me.
Yeah, it's that line he used to do when smart-ass journalists used to say, when are you going to retire? He said, you only retire from something you don't want to do what you do want to do, and I'm doing what I want to do. It's a good point.
Exactly it. You know?
Good point.
My only reply to that question is always, when they stop asking me.
Yeah, beautiful. Beautiful.
So it ain't at the moment. And I've got to get stuck into my words.
Yes, you better get off. The Midday Variety will be taking place on the 23rd of April, amongst other shows that Roy Hudd will be performing. Put in Roy Hudd into Google and all the dates will come up. But this one is the 23rd of April. We'll see you in Coventry with a beautiful cast of variety entertainers. Roy, I love you very much. Thank you for your time.
God bless, Alex.